Working the night shift sounds easy until you're alone and something moves. A light turns on by itself. A voice calls from an empty room. These are two real night shift horror stories and how each one ends. The night shift at St. Mary's Hospital always felt spooky, but Angela had no idea what was coming that night. At midnight, she slipped into her routine, checking the dark halls. Little did she know that the next few hours would challenge everything she thought she knew about reality. It was 2:17 a.m. when first sign of trouble appeared. The call light from room 9B began to blink insistently, its red glow piercing through the darkness. Angela froze, her heart racing. That room had been abandoned for years, boarded up after a devastating fire that had claimed several lives. How could it possibly be active? Convinced it must be a glitch in the system, Angela approached the nurse's station and reset the board. She breathed a sigh of relief as the light went out, thinking the matter was resolved. But her relief was short-lived. Just minutes later, the call light from room 9B buzzed to life once again, more urgent than before. Angela's palms began to sweat as she stared at the blinking light, unable to shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Angela radioed maintenance. "Hey, is anyone working on the call system tonight?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Angela's mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. Could it be a prank? A malfunction? Or something far more sinister? With no other option, she made the decision to investigate personally. Before we continue this chilling tale, I want to remind you that if you're enjoying these true night shift stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss our upcoming episodes filled with more real-life encounters that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, back to Angela's terrifying experience. As she approached the abandoned wing, the temperature seemed to drop dramatically. The fluorescent lights above her flickered ominously, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Each step echoed loudly in the empty hallway, making Angela acutely aware of her isolation. As she rounded the corner, her blood ran cold. The door to room 9B, which had been securely boarded up for years, was now slightly ajar. Angela's instincts screamed at her to turn back, but her sense of duty propelled her forward. With trembling hands, she pushed the door open wider. The hinges creaked in protest, breaking the oppressive silence. Angela's eyes darted around the room, taking in the scene before her. An empty bed stood in the center, its metal frame rusted and forgotten. A thick layer of dust covered every surface, undisturbed for years. But something was off. Despite the clear signs of abandonment, there were no footprints in the dust. No sign that anyone had entered the room recently. Yet impossibly, the call button on the wall was glowing bright red, pulsing like a beating heart. Angela's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the impossible sight. Every fiber of her being told her to run, to escape this nightmare. But she was rooted to the spot, unable to tear her eyes away from the glowing button. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the room, raising goosebumps on Angela's skin. The call light flickered once, twice, and then went dark. The spell broken, Angela stumbled backward, slamming the door shut behind her. She ran down the hallway, her footsteps echoing loudly in the empty corridor. It was until she reached the safety of the Nurse S station that she allowed herself to breathe. With shaking hands, she logged the incident in the night report, struggling to find words to describe what she had witnessed. As dawn broke, Angela's shift came to an end. She left the hospital, haunted by her experience and dreading her next night on duty. Would she encounter more unexplainable phenomena? Or was it all just a product of her exhausted mind playing tricks on her? The following day, a team of hospital technicians arrived to investigate the mysterious occurrences. They combed through the call system, checking every wire and connection. After hours of meticulous examination, they finally discovered the source of the problem. Hidden deep within the hospital's aging infrastructure, they found a faulty circuit that had somehow maintained a connection to the long-abandoned wing. This glitch in the system had kept Room 9B's call button linked to the main board despite years of disuse. Relief washed over Angela when she heard the news. The rational explanation soothed her frayed nerves, providing a logical answer to the terrifying events of the previous night. The entire call panel was promptly replaced, severing any remaining connections to the abandoned wing. From that day forward, the call light for Room 9B never activated again. The incident became nothing more than a story shared among night shift workers, a tale to send shivers down the spines of new employees. But for Angela, the memory of that night lingered. Even as years passed, she could never shake the feeling that there had been more to the incident than a simple electrical malfunction. On quiet nights, when the hospital halls were empty and the shadows seemed to stretch a little longer, she found herself glancing nervously towards the east wing, half expecting to see that red light glowing once more. The experience had taught Angela a valuable lesson about the thin line between the explainable and the supernatural. While science had provided an answer, it couldn't erase the fear she had felt standing in that dust-covered room, facing an impossibility. As for Room 9B, it remained sealed off, its secrets locked away behind a new, sturdier door. The hospital administration, eager to put the incident behind them, made sure that no one would have reason to venture into that part of the building again. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind howls and the old building creaks, some say they can still hear the faint echo of a call button, desperately seeking attention from beyond the veil of our understanding. For those who work the night shift, especially in places with long and complex histories like hospitals, these kinds of experiences are not uncommon. So the next time you find yourself alone in a quiet building, pay attention to the sounds around you. Listen for the whispers in the walls and the unexplained creaks in the night. For you never know when you might stumble upon your own brush with the unexplained, your own story that will keep others awake long into the night. Next up, we have the story of Danny, who works night shift as a security guard. The night was quiet, almost too quiet, as Danny began his shift at the 3-story warehouse. The security guard had grown accustomed to the eerie silence that accompanied his solitary nights, but tonight felt different. As the clock struck 1:12 a.m., Danny's radio crackled to life. A voice on the other end instructed him to check the upstairs office. With a deep breath, he climbed the dim staircase, his footsteps echoing in the silence. Reaching the office door, Danny noticed something amiss. Printer paper was scattered across the floor, and the alarm light blinked ominously in the darkness. His heart raced as he pushed the door open, the hinges creaking in protest. Inside, the office was a mess. Papers littered every surface as if a whirlwind had torn through the room. Danny's eyes darted from corner to corner, searching for any sign of an intruder. That's when he heard it, a faint rustling behind the desk. His breath caught in his throat as he took a cautious step forward. "Hello?" he called out, his voice trembling slightly. No response came, but the sound of heavy breathing filled the air. If you're enjoying this true night shift story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss our upcoming tales of real-life terror and survival. Danny's heart pounded in his chest as he inched closer to the desk. The breathing grew louder, more labored. With each step, the tension in the room seemed to multiply tenfold. Suddenly, movement caught his eye. In the far corner of the office, a tall, hunched shadow rose from the darkness. It towered over Danny, its form barely visible in the dim light. Panic seized him. Without a second thought, Danny turned and sprinted out of the office. His hands shook as he fumbled with the keys, desperately trying to lock the door behind him. The sound of his own ragged breathing filled his ears as he ran down the hallway, putting as much distance as possible between himself and whatever lurked in that room. Once he reached the security office, Danny's trembling fingers dialed the night manager's number. His voice cracked as he recounted what he'd seen, begging for help. Next, he called the police, praying they would arrive quickly. Minutes felt like hours as Danny waited, his eyes glued to the security monitors. He watched for any sign of movement, any indication that the creature was trying to escape. Finally, the police arrived. They swept through the building, guns drawn, ready for anything. But as they reached the upstairs office, they found nothing. The room was empty, devoid of any intruder or evidence of one. Confused and frustrated, the officers reviewed the security footage with Danny. To their shock, The cameras showed no sign of any disturbance. The office remained still and undisturbed throughout the night, with no tall figure or scattered papers in sight. The incident left everyone baffled. In the days that followed, the warehouse owners took no chances. They replaced all the lights and motion sensors in the building, determined to prevent any future occurrences. But for Danny, the damage was done. The memory of that night haunted him, making it impossible to return to his normal routine. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following his every move. Unable to bear the thought of another night in that warehouse, Danny requested a transfer. His superiors, understanding the toll the incident had taken on him, quickly approved his request. As Danny walked out of the warehouse for the last time, he couldn't help but glance up at the window of that upstairs office. For a moment, he thought he saw a shadow move behind the glass. But when he blinked, it was gone. To this day, Danny has never returned to that warehouse. He's moved on with his life, found a new job, but the memory of that night still sends chills down his spine. Sometimes, in the quiet hours of the night, he finds himself wondering about what really happened in that office. Was it a trick of the light, a figment of his imagination brought on by too many lonely nights? Or was there something truly sinister lurking in the shadows, something that defied explanation? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Danny's experience serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the things that go bump in the night are all too real. And for those who work the graveyard shift, the line between reality and nightmare can sometimes blur in the most terrifying ways.